So let's get this session started. I want to introduce our panelists for session 2. We have Matt Jackson out of Michigan, and we have Kurt Brandmeier out of the beautiful state of Tennessee. Look at that background. There's definitely a filter going on Kurt's background, I think. And then last and definitely not least, we have Zach Phillips out of Pennsylvania. Gentlemen, thank you so much for hopping on the session with us. I'm excited to dive right into it. Matt, I'm going to start with you, out of Detroit, Michigan. Let's just lay the foundation. How would you define the ideal prospect for income protection or disability insurance?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Rob. Once again, Matt Jackson of IRA Brokerage Plus Group office here in Michigan. And I'm of the opinion that I'm sure the rest of our Plus Group offices are, that everybody needs disability insurance. It's really a conversation to be bringing up with every single client, as Brett mentioned in his presentation. And so I guess to preface that, there are some clients and prospects that are a little bit better for this product than others. So what exactly makes a good prospect? I would say there are 3 major criteria to focus on that are really have to do with underwriting. So to start, we've got age, income, and occupation. Why don't I start with age? As disability insurance covers you during your working years up until retirement. And retirement is defined typically by these insurance companies as age 65 or 67. And the cost of coverage is going to increase as you get older. So keep in mind, if you've got a 30-year-old client, they have potentially 30 plus years of income to insure. That could be millions of dollars. And not only this, those young clients are not likely to stay healthy as they get older. Maybe some of them will, some of them won't. But as they age, typically not very common that you get healthier with age. So if I had to pick really a sweet spot as, who's the ideal prospect, I would say look at age first. The younger, the better, probably between age 25 and 55. Now, I mentioned this industry area because these clients are going to be really stepping into their professions, or they're going to be established in their respective industries. Now, the next up I would like to talk about is income. Income is uniquely important to disability insurance. And after all, we are insuring your paycheck. So with that, it's a good way to start prospecting. And let's keep in mind, we're here to get absolutely everybody coverage. And we can start with clients that are making about $25,000 a year or more. These benefits are rich from disability. And so those premiums can be significant. So if I had to, again, pick a sweet spot for prospecting, I would say about $80,000 a year or more as annual income is really going to be a great prospect and make some of those premiums a little bit less daunting, more approachable. Now, is your client in an early stage of their career? This is pretty common kind of feedback that I get. They're not anywhere near their earning potential. Honestly, that's great, as you should really be focusing on getting these clients coverage when they're young, they're healthy. All of our Plus Group offices offer riders that will help you to ensure that increase in income for your prospects by simply going through a couple-page application and presenting financial documentation, tax returns to really clarify how much coverage they can get and fulfill that amount that they really need, get them better covered. So next up, I do want to mention occupation. Occupation is easily the least restrictive category that we're going to run into here. We can cover just about any occupation. Just to give some examples, CEOs, marketing professionals, we've got contractors, carpenters, athletes, naturally doctors as well. Some good rule of thumb when you're looking at clients is to keep in mind that you've got, clients that have more manual occupations are going to have higher premiums than less manual. And that's just keeping outside any other outside factors. Now, when it comes to occupation, just a good example of that, we've got the doctor market. Everybody thinks of that when they think of disability. Let's think of a surgeon, general surgeon or thoracic surgeon, and a radiologist. So let's think a diagnostic radiologist. This thoracic surgeon or general surgeon is going to have a lot more hands-on physical duties as far as the physician market goes. That radiologist, the diagnostic radiologist, is going to be non-invasive. They're going to be looking at imaging. So naturally, their premiums will be lower than that of the surgeon. Now, something also to add, if you're unclear on your occupation, don't hesitate to ask your client a couple more questions to really clarify that for your Plus Group office, get them the best estimate possible. Now, I want to wrap this answer up after mentioning those three categories, but I would be doing a massive disservice if I did not mention at least a little bit of health underwriting. You'll see this in life insurance, and there might be some different focuses between the two types of coverage, but I would say that you ask a couple questions, and you're going to really get the ball rolling in this space. First question I ask: are you currently taking any medications? If so, what for? After that, I would ask: have you had recently any surgery? Do you have upcoming surgery scheduled? And then lastly, have you been hospitalized in the last 5 to 10 years? Those are just some simple questions that are really going to get the ball rolling, help you from going in circles with your client that may not be able to, expand on what they have going on health-wise. And at the end of the day, you're saving everybody time by getting the most accurate estimate. Now, just to summarize, best prospects are young and healthy, making $80,000 or more a year. And again, just ask questions about occupation, health, dig in there. And as far as the Plus Group, reach out to us after you've got that, and we're going to help get those clients covered.
Yeah, great points, Matt. And I love those questions. Kurt, I'm going to pivot over your way because I know you're the pivoting king. So if I'm a financial advisor, and based on what Matt just told me, I can identify a couple people who would make great clients for disability insurance. How am I pivoting that conversation from investments or financial planning over to income protection and disability insurance?
Thank you, Robert. Again, Kurt Broadmeyer here with Baker Birdwell Plus Group Nashville. And thank you to everyone joining in on the call today. But before I share with you a few ideas on how to pivot the conversation, I always start with asking the financial advisor if they have a disability policy on themselves. There is no better way to appreciate and understand the financial products you sell than to own a policy on yourself. It's hard to sell something you don't believe in. Now, today, financial advisors create plans designed to help you reach your life and financial goals. But what is the one common thing that every financial plan has in common? They all require income to work. So before you, as the advisor, can start building the financial plan for your client's future, you must make sure that your client's income will continue even if they get sick or hurt and can't work. Now, we all know the best financial plan in the world is only as good as your income. And without it, your financial plan could fall apart. So I want you to think about a bridge for a second and how it is being supported. Without the support from other structures, that bridge would most likely fall apart. Now think about your financial plan the same way. Each part of your financial plan is supported by your ability to work and earn an income. And without protecting it with disability insurance, your financial plan could fall apart. Only 48% of American adults indicate they have enough savings to cover 3 months of living expenses or longer without earning an income. But now that you have initiated the conversation and have your client thinking about the importance of protecting their income, you begin establishing the need. And you do that by simply asking them questions. What would happen to your lifestyle if your paycheck stopped tomorrow and you become unable to work? Do you have a plan B? Or can you list 3 to 5 people that would help pay your bills for 6 months, a year, or possibly longer? Imagine your client being a salesperson, having a stroke and no longer being able to speak. Or imagine your client being in real estate. What would happen if they couldn't show homes to their clients anymore due to a serious back injury? Or does your client have a working spouse who makes enough money to cover your income loss? Or better yet, imagine going home tonight and telling your spouse that your pay was reduced by 40% for the rest of your career. How would that conversation go? Probably not so well, but that could easily happen if you become disabled with a group long-term disability policy through your employer. So by educating your client on the need for income protection and showing them how you can supplement their group coverage with individual coverage, that will provide your clients with the maximum protection that they need, and it gives them peace of mind knowing that in the event they become disabled, their paycheck will not stop. Now, sometimes it can be difficult to get your clients to seriously consider being disabled. So another great way of getting into that DI conversation is to simply ask them if they normally take a vacation. Usually they do for a week, but then you ask them if they ever take a 3-month vacation. They will usually say, of course not. And you simply ask them why. The answer you'll probably get is my business would fall apart or I just can't afford it. But by having that simple conversation with them, you have shown them the importance of them working and their income and have initiated the DI conversation. Now, disability insurance must be sold. And as the financial advisor, you have to be willing to get out and have the conversation with your clients and educate them on the importance of protecting their income. This is an activity business. And at the end of the day, if you don't have the conversation with your client, somebody else will, and then they will become somebody else's client. Or even worse, you will be explaining to your disabled client why you never brought up income protection. No one likes to think about being sick or hurt and not working. But as a financial advisor, you must be willing to help your clients consider those unpleasant scenarios of not being able to work. And remember, the only person who can take care of you if you become disabled is the healthy person you are today. Life is unpredictable and many situations occur without warning. So it is important to get out and educate your clients on the importance of protecting their income.
Yeah, that's huge, Kurt. And not to take away from Zach's thunder, but Kurt alluded to it already. Zach, I know that you spend so much time and effort and energy really driving that message of who the absolute best client is for disability insurance. Can you explain exactly what you mean by that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Robert. In my opinion, the best and most important prospect is yourself. First of all, you get a policy on yourself. You get to learn the product, learn the general structure of what's going on base policy with a disability policy. You also get a handle on the definitions, both a disability and income. You can learn what the riders mean and where they're appropriate to add or perhaps remove if the case may warrant it. And you also get a handle on what the difference is between the different carriers that we offer. You also get to learn the process of disability. So from application until issue, you get a handle on what the ins and outs are, whether you can submit paper or electronic. You can do both. What the DI underwriting looks like. And just so you know, disability underwriting is different from all the other underwriting that you've probably seen. Life underwriting, long-term care underwriting, and fixed annuity underwriting. It's all different. So by going through it yourself, you're giving yourself the opportunity to experience it first and be able to address any of your client's concerns with how the process is going to go and position yourself so that you don't run into a situation where the client is compromised because of the way that the process went. You also get a good idea on what the pricing is. So you can take that when you're developing the quotes for your clients. Hey, this rider might be a bit too expensive, but this one isn't. I'll add this one and build the quote the way. And I've really talked all about how it benefits the clients that you're buying a DI policy on yourself, but don't lose sight of the fact that it benefits you as well. First off, with most carriers, they have a producer bonus. So you get discounted premiums just for writing a policy on yourself. Also, all the agents get commission when they write a disability policy, and that does include your policies. What you can do is use your commission to help offset some of those premiums from your disability policy. And the biggest thing, I think, is you're getting important foundational coverage for yourself. If you become disabled, you now have coverage in force to protect yourself and protect your income. I just think it's the best and most important prospect is yourself. It's the best client that you can ever have.
Yeah, I love that, Zach, and so spot on. Now, Matt, we're gonna circle back and headed your way with this one. Business owners are such a common market for so many advisors out there, and we hear about them all the time in the disability insurance world. And I would beg to just assume that it's because they have so many risks and so many exposures. if they were to become, sick or hurt. Now, can you help us understand, if someone has a business owner, client, or prospect, how do we know if they need disability insurance and what type of disability insurance might be best for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question, Rob. And want to emphasize, I know it's been said a couple times, but love the fact getting coverage on yourself is a really great way to understand what you're doing. And business owners, man, the need for disability with business owners runs deep. They understand the product. It's important to them as they know the value of their business. And I don't think there's really a better group to get prospecting with. So on the individual level, this makes sense because, they want to keep the lights on. They want to maintain what they've built, keep everything going. Beyond that, as you alluded to, there are many different applications in the business space for disability. To mention a few or go through the three main products, let me start with disability buy-sell coverage, which would be coverage for an arrangement between a couple owners. That could be a pair to, a group of business owners. This is really common in the life insurance space. And so you can really piggyback with that. And there are two options for payouts. You've got monthly benefits available, or you can do a lump sum. Now, another coverage is business overhead expense coverage for incurred costs of the business. So you have, you're renting an office or maybe a studio, or you're renting equipment, and you could also use it to cover employee salaries. So that's another great coverage. Another one the third one that I want to mention is the business loan protection coverage. So if you have a client buying a business and they've got a loan taken out, this is for them. If your client is a business owner, they're a prospect in general, but any of these circumstances come up and you've got an even better prospect. Now, I want to touch a bit on, I mentioned the loan protection, as I think this is an important subject to grasp, and it's a market ready for the taking. In our current workforce, we have a lot of baby boomers, and they are retiring. They are selling their businesses to younger owners and really just moving on. And so with that, there's a lot of opportunity to cover that transition. So you've got plenty of different types of businesses. I mean, business space, general business, law practices, veterinary clinics. There are so many applications. And so I think this is an area, because of the workforce, that really is there for the taking and something to focus on. I did mention earlier the kind of age bracket when prospecting. When it comes to business owners, I would be a little bit more lenient. So I don't want to talk too much more, but to just summarize what I think is good about business owners, they understand the risk. And so on the individual end, you've got a prospect up front. Beyond that, you've got so many different applications they have rental expenses, they've got a buy-sell agreement, or they've got a loan to protect. They're buying a business. You have an opportunity to help these clients in an even more comprehensive way.
Yeah, you nailed it, Matt. Those are some great points, and all things outside of just personal income replacement. I love that. Kurt, I think a lot of the value that you can bring here is again, pivoting this conversation of, okay, maybe we've identified a couple prospects. How do I really, start the conversation around disability insurance, which is similar to what Brett had touched on in his first session. And I know you work with several folks in the property casualty world, and, talk about a completely different wavelength of insurance. Even though we're talking about insurance, the conversation is different, when we're talking about home and auto versus protecting the income earner. So help us understand a little bit about how you're helping P&C agents or property casualty agents pivot that conversation to disability insurance.
Thanks, Robert. Matt and Zach have given some really great points, but as I mentioned before, I always start the conversation, no matter who I'm working with or talking to, if they have income protection on themselves. We've all said it today, it's hard to sell something you don't believe in. Do you think Grant Cardone would be out promoting his product 10X all over social media if he didn't believe in it? Probably not. But if you know anything about Grant Cardone and 10X, his passion is to help you grow your business and be successful. Just like myself and the rest of the members of the Plus Group, We are passionate when it comes to disability insurance and educating you and your clients on the protection that they need. And like you said, Robert, today I spend a lot of time educating and motivating insurance agents and property and casualty agents on how to cross-sell DI to their existing clients. Now, these clients of theirs, they already trust them with their home and auto, so why not offer them income protection as well? Statistics show that 48% of all home foreclosures are the result of disability, and that you have a greater chance of becoming disabled than you do your house catching fire. But we all know that if statistics mattered, we would have a line out our doors of people wanting disability insurance. Now, as the insurance agent or the property and casualty agent or the financial advisor, it is important to not lose sight of the risk your clients take without disability insurance or income protection, as I like to call it. Now, I want you to think about disability insurance or income protection as a safe fill with money. Now, that safe of money is going to give you and your clients peace of mind that in the event you become disabled, your family will never go hungry, your family will continue to have a roof over their head, and you will be able to adequately fund retirement plans and your children's education, just to name a few. But now let's discuss how to bring up the conversation when talking with your existing clients. Now, we all know your homeowner's insurance protects where you live, your auto insurance protects what you drive, but what plan do you have in place today that is protecting that big bag of money that is coming in every week that makes all these things possible? Now, when calling on your clients to update them on their home or auto policies, you can simply ask them, if you had a piece of equipment that produced $100,000 a year, would you insure it? A lot of times your client will probably look at you like you're crazy and say something like, of course I would. That's when you come in and say, well, you are that piece of equipment, and shouldn't you consider insuring yourself? Life doesn't stop when a disability strikes and you become disabled and unable to work. Bills still continue to come in every month and pile up. And be sure to point out as well that 90% of disabilities are illness related, and almost half of American adults indicate they can't pay an unexpected $400 bill without having to take out a loan or sell something to do so. Now, Robert, the last idea I want to share today is one that I share with all my insurance agents and property casualty agents, and it's how to incorporate the MUG plan into the conversation and how you can use this at the conclusion of every single sale. Now, for those of you that don't know, MUG is an acronym for mortgage, utilities, and groceries. Now, when you're delivering the home and auto proposals or whatever line of business you're selling, at the end of the appointment, you simply ask your client, by the way, who takes care of your income protection? Now, a lot of times you may get something like, I don't know what you mean. That's when you come in and say, if you became disabled today and couldn't work, which of your insurance plans are going to kick in to pay for your mortgage, utilities, and your groceries? Now, the client will probably say, I don't think I have anyone that would pay me. That's when you show them the MUG plan. The MUG plan is a very affordable disability insurance plan that's going to provide you a monthly income to pay for your mortgage, utilities, and your groceries if you become disabled today. Now, all I need to know is how much you spend each month on these three expenses, so I can find you the best income protection plan that will make sure that all these expenses are covered in the event you are unable to work. It's a simple conversation and gets your client thinking about the importance of their income. Now, as the agent and or advisor, you don't need to worry about having all the answers. Establish the need, initiate the conversation, and then reach out to a member from your Plus Group office, and we will provide you with everything you need to be the expert for your client. We love the conversation and love educating you and your clients on the importance of protecting their income with disability insurance. And the last thing I want to leave you with is, when you help people do what they need to do, when you help your clients protect themselves, and when you care about your clients and think about their needs, you can't help but grow your business.
Boom. I love it. And that MUG plan is so key and so critical. So if you weren't paying attention there, make sure you go back in the recording. But that is the best way to sell disability insurance, especially to a price conscious client. So great points, Kurt. Zach, bring us home, because you've, also been the king of a very specific market. We have not touched on yet this entire panel or either session 1 or session 2. You have done extensive work in the blue collar and middle income markets. Tell us a little bit about how you're defining or identifying prospects in those markets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Robert. I think the best way to describe the middle income market is underserved. I think a lot of advisors lose track of the fact that plumbers and electricians need DI just as much as lawyers and doctors. I know that the middle income market can be kind of tough to play in. And honestly, I think that's due to more of a lackadaisical approach by the agents than anything else. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten an email or a phone call saying, nah, just quote max benefits to age 67, just add all the riders and we'll sell it from there. By approaching your client that way, you're imprinting them with a very high premium that they might not even be comfortable with. It might not even be a plan that they would even consider adding, even if price were not a issue. So what you can do is show your client a couple different options. Don't be afraid to reduce the benefits a little bit. 5 or a 10-year benefit period may be totally appropriate as opposed to an age 67 benefit period. As a matter of fact, I was reading the other day that the average DI claim is about 2.5 years. So a 5-year claim or a 5-year benefit period would absolutely fit right in there. So don't be afraid. Reduction of benefit doesn't necessarily mean reduction in the quality of the plan. It just means positioning the plan in the right way to get the client to accept the policy and actually consider and to continue the conversation. The other thing that I do whenever I'm quoting any client, but especially a client in the middle income market, is use the rule of 2%. Basically, it says if the client is not likely to spend more than 2% of their annual income on DI products. So I always like to show at least one quote there, start there, and then you have the opportunity to either build it up a little bit more with more robust benefits or bring the premiums down by reducing the benefits a little bit, but you can still keep the conversation going. Promise you, if you just send out max benefits to age 67 to all your clients, you're never going to see an email back in your inbox. The other way that you can position the sale is using the mug idea from Kurt. That is the best way to do it. Mortgage, utilities, groceries. And I've even had it with a couple of clients that we get through the mug plan and they see the premiums and everything. And then they say, well, can I put my truck payment on there too? And that's exactly the type of conversation you want to have, because the answer is yes, we can cover that. And you only got there by positioning it in a way and approaching your client in a way that spoke to them rather than just kind of throwing something out at them. You got to remember too, that something is better than nothing. DI is wasn't designed to replace 100% of your income. They do want you to go back to work eventually if you can. So don't be afraid to, like I said, reduce benefits, show a 2%, and use the mug plan. The other stumbling block I think we fall into with specifically the middle income market is thinking that workers' compensation and Social Security are going to be adequate coverage and we don't need anything else. For one, Social Security, I think it takes about a year just for you to hear back if you got benefits, let alone to receive the benefits. So if it's not extremely long-term situation, that probably isn't going to come into play. The other side of things, workers' compensation. Obviously, if you're not disabled at work, it doesn't help you. For example, I go deer hunting every year with a group of guys up here in Pennsylvania, and go up there with this one guy. He's a big, strong guy, works construction. One of those guys who you would never expect to become disabled, never got sick. His opinion was if he was ever going to get disabled, it was by driving the bulldozer and the backhoe at work and from nothing else. Well, it turns out he has developed now cancer and he's not able to work. So even a small disability policy would have really, really helped him out, because obviously he wasn't disabled at work, so workers' comp didn't pay out. The last point that I wanted to mention about the middle income and blue collar markets is don't forget that blue collar, gray collar, middle income, they are still business owners. So all the thoughts and ideas and products that Matt mentioned, you can absolutely take to your business owners. Again, I go back to the plumbers and electricians need DI just as much as lawyers and doctors, and it goes double for blue and gray collar business owners.
Yeah, great points, Matt. And I love that story that you mentioned there. That's actually such a critical piece to the income protection conversation. So, gentlemen, we are short on time. Matt Jackson, thank you so much. Kurt Brandmeier, thank you again. And Zach Phillips, thanks for taking it home. That was a great session. I know our attendees got a lot of value